episode of Girl Influence Power is brought to you by Kollectin. Shop or run the world's tiniest boutiques with Kollectin.
Welcome to Girl Influence Power Podcast. I'm your host, Nadia Lee, entrepreneur, jewelry designer, CEO, co-founder of Kollectin, the social plus shopping app that is your new platform for fashion. Thank you for tuning in live on CastBox. This episode is brought to you by Kollectin in partnership with CastBox. Girls, have you ever been caught trying to buy that perfect gift for that girl who has everything? Guys, have you ever forgotten an important date like an anniversary or birthday? Well, fear no more. Girlfriend Box is the personalized jewelry gift box automatically sent on all the big days. You can pre-schedule ahead and never forget again. So go and schedule your gift now at girlfriendbox.com. Today we have the fashionably glam and well-spoken Jennifer Chan with us. Jennifer Chan is an established fashion and beauty editor, media personality, and on-air host with over 15 years of experience, having worked for leading media outlets including InStyle Magazine, E! Online, Elle.com, The Kardashians, Fashionista.com, and more. She has appeared on air as style correspondent and industry expert for TV networks like CNBC, MSN Entertainment, Sky News, Total Beauty, and BET Network. Jennifer has interviewed dozens and dozens of A-list stars, attended countless exclusive industry events, as well as attended many runway shows. On top of that, she also has hosted numerous fashion shows for retailers like Bloomingdale's and Macy's. Most recently, she was on the launch team for the Kardashian Jenner apps and websites as senior editor to both Kim Kardashian West and Kourtney Kardashian. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming all the way out here. Anyway, we're going to jump right in because you're in the know about style, about fashion, about beauty, but I really want to get to know more about you. So let's get real and talk about you.
Sure.
So you're an editor, blogger, media personality host, and a whole bunch of other things. I mean, there's so much on my whole list. So how do you in this present day describe exactly what do you do?
That's a really good question. I feel like I have had so many different roles in the industry. The largest being, my pedigree really is in journalism. I was an editor for a lot of magazines. Essentially, I'm a writer, editor. But I think it all-encompassing title would be style and beauty expert because I have consulted for brands. I speak to trends. I relate to real women. I've been on TV. I've been, behind the scenes where I'm writing articles for major media outlets. So at this point, I think a lot of people just tag me as like, oh, she's like the style and beauty expert. She can talk about anything in those two realms. And it's true. I love it. I wouldn't imagine my life not being in this industry. And I kind of knew from a really young age that I would be here one day. So it's very surreal.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And you already got over 15 years.
I know.
So fast.
I know. Can I retire now?
Now let's go back to the very beginning. So when you're really young, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you always know that, you're going to be doing something to do with the media, have a mic in your hand? I mean, does what you do before foreshadow who you are today?
I think so. I mean, I think you know who you are, at least I did, when you were really little. I played dress up and fashion show at home, like how probably most kids play with trucks or stuffed animals. I was in my closet. I had different outfits, by the hour. I would line up my stuffed animals and I would strut around and have literally a fashion show at home. And I would always get into, makeup and accessories. And a lot of times when I was little, I would lose, my aunt's earrings around the house, or I would get into her makeup and get in trouble later. But I couldn't help myself. It was like, bees to honey for me. I knew that I was going to work in fashion and beauty. And I remember this moment when I was in high school or middle school. And my older brother said to me, if you could figure out a career path for you that, is able to let you express how much passion you have for fashion and beauty, I think that's what you should do. Because ultimately I knew I wanted a job that didn't feel like work, that it felt like a passion. I do feel proud that I feel like I've really hit the nail on the head with that. And I figured that out at an early age.
Oh, wow. That's actually very, very rare. Because, when you're little, you have always dream of like, I want to be a dolphin trainer or a teacher or something.
I definitely had a straight path. I was, even in my first in first grade, I won a writing contest.
Right.
And in third grade, I won another writing contest.
Wow.
And my teachers pulled me aside and said, and I was in elementary school, and she said, promise me that you'll be a writer, because a lot of people can't write and you can, and it would be a waste for you not to use that gift. And I said, okay, I'll be a writer. And so from then on, I was like, I'm going to be a writer. I've already promised this one teacher in third grade that I'm going to be a writer. So I got to figure out how to combine writing and fashion and beauty together. And then I realized there is a job for that.
Right.
And it's an editor. And that's always what I wanted to be.
Okay. So now you grew up in Houston. So being Asian Americans, were your parents very traditional? What was it like being,
I am so fortunate that I had parents that were so supportive. I did not have that experience where they were, I mean, of course, every Asian parent wants you to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. And my mom always told me, you should be a lawyer, because I was very persuasive.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, I always got my way out of things. And I was a very strong communicator, and I was talking at early ages and telling stories at an early age. But she knew that I was going to be creative, and I think my whole family knew I would be creative. So I'm very determined. And I think once I set it out there and I said, I'm going to work in fashion and beauty. And at one point I thought I'd be a fashion designer, because I was sketching and illustrating, these girls and dresses and gowns every day. But I think I was very fortunate that I had parents that kind of let me flap my wings, and it was kind of like sink or swim. If you can do it, then you can do it. And for me, there was no option to fail. I just knew that I would do it.
Oh, that's nice. So who else is your female role model?
So growing up in Houston, again, back in the day, media was really only television or magazines. It was still very traditional. And I remember looking around and seeing opening magazines or turning on the TV, and there weren't really any women that looked like me. Looking back at me, there weren't any Asians or a lot of diversity. There wasn't anyone who wasn't like a stick size 0 blonde model. So I knew that even at a very early age, I knew I wanted to change that. I wanted to see more diversity and inclusion in media. Obviously when I turned on the TV, Connie Chung was like kind of the only Asian American.
I remember that.
Me too. And I was like, I'm going to be a news anchor like Connie Chung. And I really did idolize her. I liked, Christy Yamaguchi. I remember being very glamorous, like that, the figure skater, because she had all the sparkle and the smile and the glam to her outfit. So I didn't want to be a figure skater, although I did do figure skating growing up, mostly for the outfits. But there were very few Asian American women to look up to. I would say professionally, I remember idolizing Kim France, who was the editor-in-chief of Lucky Magazine at the time, which Lucky Magazine is now no longer, but Kim came from Houston. And I had done my homework, and I realized that, she came from the same city I grew up in. And if she can do it in New York, I can do it in New York. And she has no idea that I idolized her the way I did. And I read her editor's letter like nobody else did. And my heroes were the women, the names I saw in the masthead of a magazine. It wasn't a celebrity necessarily on TV or on a red carpet. For me, it was professional women that were really killing it at their jobs and proving to people that they could make a difference in media.
Oh, nice. So what were you like in high school? I mean, are you studious or you're ambitious?
Yeah, I would say I'm a lot like how I am today. I was really bubbly. I was voted most spirited. I was varsity cheerleader.
Nice.
I competed competitively in cheerleading, not only for my school, but also for an all-star squad, which growing up in Texas, you're either going to become an athlete or a cheerleader. So I was like, I'm going to go that route. I was the editor-in-chief of our yearbook.
Oh, nice.
So I've always been that girl who would take pictures of all my friends and document memories and write captions. So it was very, I felt like there was a lot of foreshadowing to what I would do later. I was a broadcast anchor for our morning news. So I would go on, we had like kind of a makeshift TV studio in our high school, and I would report the morning announcements about, which clubs were meeting after school, and don't forget to, we're on a field trip tomorrow, things like that.
Right.
So I was always a communicator. I knew that I was going to be, I had this like inner confidence that I knew I could do it, and I loved connecting with people. So I was very social, but I was also in all the honors and gifted and talented classes, and very studious. But I was very outgoing. So I kind of had this balance of like being super academic and excelling in all my classes, but also like I'm also there and I'm also there and I'm also cheerleading. Right. I also modeled in high school.
Wow.
Believe it or not. In Houston, we had this huge department store called Foley's, which is part of the Robinson's May Company. And probably some of my fondest memories growing up was working with Foley's, because we had what they called it the teen board, and they would pick high school students around Houston, which is a huge city, and we would model in fashion shows for back to school and prom.
Oh, nice.
And we would show all the trends, and I became the president of it by the time I was a senior. And, and I was also, they would have me do like the local morning news segment about, what to wear. So I was seeing a lot of behind the scenes of fashion and beauty, at least even from a local standpoint of what goes into putting on a production like a fashion show or a news segment. So it was kind of like, it was all in the stars for me.
Right. It's true. It's how things fall into place, basically, which is like that. I feel it's very much like that, whether it's in a career or in a job or
100%. Yes. I was interning in high school.
Oh, wow.
Senior year, I was like, I cannot wait to be a grown up. I cannot wait to get my hands in this industry.
Right.
So literally before I graduated high school, I was already interning, and I was learning how lookbooks are shot and catalogs are shot. I went to modeling castings for Go-Sees.
Right.
And I just wanted to know everything that I could. I just couldn't get enough.
Nice. No, I love that spirit about you learning and going out there and getting what you want.
Yeah.
So now you went to college in Pepperdine, so it's really far west.
Yeah.
So why Pepperdine?
So it's a funny story. I actually, after I graduated high school, I moved to New York right away. And I actually went to FIT, which is the Fashion Institute of Technology. That was my dream school at the time, because I thought, I'm going to go big. I'm going to go into New York. Well, that was when 9/11 happened.
Oh,
so
wow.
I actually lived in New York during 9/11 as a freshman in high school. So now you guys can do the math and know exactly how old I am. But it was very hard to live in New York, this dream city that I had painted in my head. And it was probably the hardest time, other than maybe right now, that the Big Apple has ever seen. So it was devastating. And I knew that ultimately, if I wanted to be a big time editor and vying for these coveted jobs out of college, I would be competing against, other kids who went to Ivy Leagues or really intense liberal arts colleges. So I quickly decided I can't stay here. I need to move. And I remember my high school broadcasting teacher had always said the best communication schools are Pepperdine or Syracuse. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to transfer real quick, like nobody even noticed. And I applied for Pepperdine and Syracuse to transfer spring semester. I got into both, but Syracuse is up north and it's even colder.
Right, that's true.
Pepperdine's in Malibu, and I went sight unseen. And I'm like, yeah, this will do.
Malibu, of course. And for those who are not from LA, Malibu is like right at the beach.
It's a dream. It's like going to school in a resort for 4 years.
Right. So do you have any memorable experience while you were in Pepperdine?
Yeah, I have. Pepperdine, I think, shaped me to be who I am. I'm actually a former alumni of the year of Pepperdine, so very proud. I was a public relations and journalism double major at Pepperdine. And same spirit that I had in high school. I was like bound and determined to do this career. I had really supportive professors who, I was interning like crazy as well in college, not shocking. But I remember I was interning at WWD, Women's Wear Daily, which is the Bible of the industry, my senior year. And, I was making strides in the LA office, loving every second of being an unpaid intern. And I remember it was LA Fashion Week, and, the editor, the West Coast bureau chief had said, if you want, you can cover some events for us and we'll call you our junior editor and you can go. But it was during school hours. It was during when I had class. And it was for a whole week. And I talked to my professor and I said, listen, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. And he didn't even bat an eye. He was so supportive. And he said, for what you want to do, you're going to learn more in 1 week with them than I could teach you in a whole semester here.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so go. And
nice.
I did. And I got published in WWD by the time, I was an undergrad. So it was like these little moments where I was like, someone believed in me and someone saw that I could do this, not just in this university, but also in the real career field. So it was really rewarding. I was in a sorority. I was a Tri Delta, and I was VP of Public Relations and VP of Membership. So a lot of it, again, was being that personality that drew people to our group. And where some of my lifelong friendships came from. So I did a lot at Pepperdine. I loved every second of it.
Nice.
I remember crying the morning I graduated because I didn't want to leave. I was like, I don't know how many college seniors have that experience, but I was like, this has been absolute bliss. If I could just stay here forever and live in Malibu with ocean views, and it was a dream. So I was very grateful for that experience.
Now you went then the other side of town and you went back to New York for Columbia, right?
I did.
So besides the fact it's a top-notch school, why there?
So I knew I wanted to work in magazine publishing specifically. Columbia has a program and NYU has a program, and I'm sure a few other schools have a program, but Columbia obviously was the most prestigious one. And I didn't need to, let's say, continue my education, but I thought, why not? I'm an overachiever. So I'm going to apply to all the schools and see which one I got into. And I got into Columbia, which was, I was like, I'm going to do this. So I moved to New York. I knew that I kind of had to make amends with New York. I feel like I didn't get my full run when I lived there during 9/11, and I still had a lot to prove to myself. So it was all, again, everything fell into place, and I went to Columbia and I did this very intensive program at their graduate school of journalism. And I was, again, I'm sure, made a splash and let everyone know what I wanted to do and how I was going to get there and exactly, So I made a lot of great connections, and I learned, networking and also that, not everything is nice and that happy bubble that Malibu provided me. I mean, for undergrad, I couldn't have imagined a better place because everybody was supportive and sweet and happy and positive. But the real world isn't always like that. And I had to cut my teeth a little bit in New York. And Columbia gave me that experience.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Probably pretty cutthroat.
Pretty cutthroat. New York is pretty cutthroat. But it was good because if I didn't go to New York right away and if I'd stayed in LA and stayed comfortable, then I probably wouldn't have been able to accelerate my career the way that I did. So in hindsight, I'm like, I did exactly everything I should have done. I don't know how I knew to do it, but I'm glad that I went there as well.
So talk about your first job then. How was that?
Yeah. So my first job was at Real Simple Magazine, which is still alive and well. It's a shelter mag. At the time, it was owned by Time Inc. Now it's owned by Meredith, which kind of acquired Time Inc. But I remember getting that job. The director at Columbia, at my program, she called me in the afternoon, and I was actually hunting for an apartment in New York, pounding the pavement like you do in the summer. And she's like, where are you? What are you doing? And I was like, I'm looking for an apartment. And she's like, you have an interview at 4:00 at Real Simple Magazine. I could pick one person in the program, and I picked you, so you better not screw this up.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my God, okay. And at the time, magazine jobs were very, very scarce. They still, they're way more scarcer now, but at the time, nothing had happened. The recession hadn't happened yet. Digital didn't exist yet.
Yeah.
We were still reading print magazines. So it was this very sexy, glamorous industry that I knew I had to be a part of, and this was my shot. So I remember I scrambled to this interview. I was like the middle of summer. I was dripping with sweat, trying to look pulled together, and the role was to be a style assistant. Luckily, because I had already interned at Women's Wear Daily in LA, and I'd interned at InStyle Magazine, I already had a leg up than any other entry-level person, and I had finished this program at Columbia. So what I realized in that very first interview was that personality is everything in this industry. Yes, you should have a good pedigree. Yes, you should have the right schools on your resume, and you should have experience and passion. But and the same thing applies to me when I'm hiring junior entry people, is that I want someone that I actually like, and I want someone that I can spend time with and share an office with and go to events to and be at a photo shoot for 12 hours and not want to kill them. So my personality, I remember my interview, they put me on this bar stool in the middle of an office and they said, tell us a story. And I was like, about what? But I told them a story and they loved it, and we became, I got the job. I'm still really good friends with the people that hired me in that very first moment.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'll never forget it.
Now, do you feel like working in that industry, was there like a glass ceiling, or just the fact that you were Asian American? Did you feel anything different?
I've never felt like being Asian American was an obstacle. I felt like it was an advantage. And I think if you put that mindset at the top of mind, other people will start to believe it too.
That's true.
Yeah.
I agree.
So if you have this mindset of like, oh, they're not going to like me, or, oh, they're going to think whatever, then you're manifesting that yourself. But for me, I was like, I have different experience. I went to school in California, and I'm now in the middle of New York City. That already gives me a little bit more color. I'm also a minority, and I grew up in the South. Like that is also something to be said. And so I think I never saw it as a hindrance. And I would tell, again, I was always telling stories now that I think about it. I was telling stories all the time, passing the time at photo shoots or helping my editors pack up for something. And they kind of loved how much I brought to the table, because I wasn't this meek mouse, typical, Asian American maybe that you could stereotype and say. I was always this person with like lots of bubbly energy and personality. And I wanted them to remember me, and they did. I actually didn't know this, but at the time at that first job, they created a poster board in their office that was called Jen Chanisms. And whenever I said something funny or told them a story that they were like, who else would have done that? They would write it down on this board and they present it to me on my last day there just to show just to show them that, you know, they'll always remember me and we're still good friends, like I said. So I think be yourself and your personality will take you really far.
That's true. No, I totally agree with you. All right. So we're going to take a little quick break and we'll be back with Jennifer Chang.
All right.
Now you can try before you buy on Kollectin. Introducing Experience, the new way to shop jewelry. Flaunt your style and express your creativity with experience. Get it today, only on Kollectin.
Okay, we're back with Jennifer Chang. Okay, we're going to talk more about your career because it's so interesting. So this whole celebrity fashion style guru thing, how did you find your way into this?
Yeah. So like I said, my first job was at Real Simple Magazine, which is an amazing publication, but essentially my job there was styling photo shoots. The magazine is known for their beautiful aesthetic. So I would style and what we call it propping. So propping for shoots, for shelter, for food, for fashion, for beauty, for, I mean, literally any lifestyle category the magazine covered. But in my heart of hearts, I knew that I wanted more fashion, beauty, and celebrity. And Within Time Inc. was my favorite magazine, InStyle.
Me too.
I mean, I'm like one elevator bank away is my favorite magazine. So I really should belong there. So pretty quickly, and I was only at Real Simple for maybe 6 or 7 months total, my first job, before I landed myself a very, very sexy position at InStyle as their online assistant editor.
Oh, nice.
So this is before, like I said, the recession, before .com was really a thing. And I remember talking to my friends who were also in magazines, and they said, "Why would you work online? That's like the ugly stepchild of publishing." And it really was at the time. It was like nobody goes online. Nobody reads, the digital version of a magazine. They read the print. And I said, I feel like it could be a really good idea to learn how this works, how to work for a website, how to write for a website. It's so different. I wanted to, again, grow and diversify my skills. So I got this position at InStyle.com, and it was an absolute dream. I mean, the first day of work was actually Oscar Sunday, and they were like, "Just come and you go in on Oscar Sunday and you work to the bone." I mean, you're the one who's writing best dressed, worst dressed. Here's what they wore. Here are the trends. Here's the red carpet coverage, and I just couldn't get enough. I loved it so much, and there's a lot of beautiful things to be said about working online. Is that there's no limit to how much space you can write or how often you can publish. And in magazines, it's very limiting, and you have deadlines, and you have to work so many months in advance. And I was very young. I was still in my early 20s, fresh out of school. So I had a different perspective on like what was possible. A lot of magazine websites at the time, even Vogue.com, all they were doing was taking what was published in print and lifting it and putting it online. They weren't infusing it with new content or new voices or new, like anything. And I was like, why would we do that? That's so stale. So I started pitching ideas, and I, again, just being, absolutely fearless, asking my boss and asking, the VP, why don't we do this? And what we should do, for me at the time, I had a different budget even for what I could wear to work. I was still making very little money in publishing, living in New York, sharing an apartment with 3 other girls. So I pitched an idea called Look for Less, which at the time nobody was doing. Now it's obviously everyone's done it, but Look for Less was where you took a celebrity look and you break it down. And you say you can buy this at Forever 21 and you can buy this at Macy's, and you break it down. And we were the first to do it, and that was actually my baby. So
nice.
I became the queen of celebrity style and Look for Less. And then that naturally parlayed into another feature that I pitched called Where Can I Find? And basically what I would do during my lunch break is I would look through all the photo galleries of celebrities of what they wore every day. And I would say, oh, that's a Prada handbag. That's a Balenciaga leather jacket. And I would play this game with myself. And my boss saw me do it, and she's like, do you do this every day? And I was like, yeah, that's how I kill the time. And she's like, could you do this like in a on a slideshow, like in a gallery for us? And I was like, yeah, sure. So we created this gallery that was click to buy, which again at the time was very new. Where you go and you see Paris Hilton, and she's wearing this head to toe look, and you can click to buy her exact, over the knee high boots from Stuart Weitzman, and click to buy it on Net-a-Porter.com or Neiman Marcus. And so that was before affiliate marketing even existed, but we were kind of like learning how to do all this. So I spearheaded that mission. I spearheaded another section called Deals and Steals, where only for the online audience would I coordinate 25% off shopbop.com or whatever if you shop online and use our code. So we were doing all these things that now we take for granted in 2020, but in 2007, when I was there and a little baby bird flapping my wings, it was all very exciting.
Right, that's true.
So in that way, I did become the virtual celebrity style expert, and we didn't have the technology that we have today.
Right,
when
that's
I said
true.
I need to find a cheaper over the knee high boot that's camel colored and suede, I was painstakingly clicking every single page on Nordstrom.com. That we didn't have search engines that we did. We didn't have the technology where you could upload and do a reverse Google image search. So.
Yeah, that's true. You're a pioneer.
I'm a bit of an old owl in this fun, crazy industry.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you transition to in front of the camera?
Yeah, that's a really funny story. So at some point down the road, I ended up moving back to LA because I said, again, I pitched it. I was like, I really am becoming a celebrity style expert. All the celebrities live in LA. I miss LA. I miss my family. I miss my tan. Why don't I move back to LA? And they let me move back. And then over a couple of years, I landed a position working on Tyra Banks' website.
Oh, nice.
And in 2011, Tyra, who was always I should have said that, she was one of my idols growing up. Because if Tyra was all about inner, outer beauty and embrace what you got, and all bodies are beautiful. And I was so into Tyra. And she launched her own fashion and beauty website called Type F. F as in fabulous or fun, or it could be the F was whatever you wanted it to be. I was on her launch team. And again, it was another like blissful, I can't believe I'm getting to do what I love for someone that I adore and admire. And I was doing actually a lot of ghostwriting for Tyra. I was the voice of Tyra. So I infused the Tyra-isms, like her smize and head to toe, HTT, all these little Tyra words into all the copy. And that naturally led into being her lead for social media, which social at the time was only Facebook and Twitter. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have TikTok. We didn't have anything. So it was like, okay, I can just Twitter, that didn't take much time. So, but I learned how to capture a celebrity's voice into copy, and I infused that. And then they kept letting me flap my wings. And next thing I knew, they said, well, you're going to host. And I think they assumed that I had actually done it before. But I hadn't. I had spent a lot of time on a red carpet interviewing celebrities, but it was always so that I could transcribe it at home and write an article. It wasn't like me being in front of the camera with a mic. I think they just assumed that because I was outgoing that I had probably already done it.
Oh, right. So you fake it till you make it.
And I didn't even know I was faking it. I was just, again, being myself.
Right.
So the first time I had my real on-air experience professionally was for America's Next Top Model. They let me go behind the scenes on one of the episodes. And I filmed a segment with one of the winners of a challenge that we aired on her website. And I'll never forget that moment because I was like, they think I know what I'm doing, but I don't really know that I'm, and so, but I loved it. And I actually did one hosting workshop where I really went to like a class in LA about how to be a host. And I remember being very intimidated when I walked in and everybody was a model or an actress and they had headshots. And I was like, oh, no. This is not for me. This is not what I was supposed to do. I'm actually a journalist. And I've been the one writing stories and interviewing celebrities, but transcribing them. And a casting director saw me and said, I would book you over any of these other girls because you can conduct an interview. You can lead the story. You can tell, what we want to tell. I don't have to feed you any lines. And you're not just like a talking face. Like
That's true.
Yeah, you're a journalist. And I was like, I am. So again, it was another moment where I'm like, somebody believed in me. And even if they met me for 5 minutes and just saying that to me was like changed my whole mindset. So that was kind of my very first on-air experience. And then from there, they gave me my own series. So we did a YouTube channel called Style on the Street. And I was the host of it. We shot about 70 episodes.
Wow, 70.
Yeah, and we traveled to New York too. So I did LA and New York. And I actually stopped real women of all different body shapes and body types. And I would say, hey, I love your style. Where did you get this from? How do you flatter your figure? What's your favorite part about your, silhouette? Things like that. So it was so much about what was important to me, which is inclusivity and diversity, and being relatable and warm, and bringing it to the fashion and beauty industry with this huge megaphone that Tyra Banks already had as a platform. So after I hosted that series, I was like, I'm made for this. Like, I love it. I never prepped for things. I just was very natural. And it kind of set my career into a whole other tailspin that
That's true. Now, is there any celebrity then that you ever get tongue-tied? I mean, or just like, wow.
Yeah. So I spent almost 4 years as the West Coast editor for The Daily, which is a New York-based fashion publication. And essentially that meant in my 20s, I spent every single night on a red carpet. And I would go to about 3 events a night every night. So in the morning, I'm wearing yoga pants and, going to Pilates. And then my work day starts at, let's say, 4 or 5 o'clock at night. And I'm hitting a red carpet and I'm going from one event to the other. And at that time, it was amazing because I was still pretty fresh to LA. But I got to meet everybody. I met designers, I met publicists, agents, managers, talent. So I had interviewed every celebrity, I feel like, that I could have possibly interviewed. And I never got tongue-tied. I never got starstruck.
Oh, nice.
I was very like, let's get to it. Let's get that quote. And I remember there were events where publicists would say, don't even try to interview. I remember it was like Alexander McQueen or somebody. It was just like, don't even think about it. And I was like, I'm going to get that interview.
And you weren't afraid.
Yeah, I always did, because you approach it like, this is just who I am and it's going to be fine. And I'll take 5 minutes of your time and we're going to be gravy.
That's true.
The one and only time I remember being a little bit like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe, was I was invited to Victoria Beckham's birthday party. And it was very exclusive, and it was at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and Elton John hosted it. And they told me, just blend in like you're a guest. You're the only media we invited because we know how you conduct yourself. You're just gonna be a guest at her birthday. And I get there, and it's like every British celebrity is there. There's Kate Beckinsale and the Beckhams and Elton John and the Osbournes, and I'm like, I don't fit in at all. I'm Asian, and not British. Like, they're gonna know me right away. And it was at that event that I talked to David Beckham for the first time, and he touched my arm. And I was like, I can't breathe. This is the only time in my whole career that I distinctly remember, like, this is amazing. And he actually told me he wanted to go and get In-N-Out and leave the party and just have a burger. And I thought that was the most endearing thing. Yeah. So that was the only celebrity in my whole career that I was like, this is amazing.
So then how did you connect with the Kardashians?
Yeah. So one of my, I would say, biggest life-shaping career choices was when I landed a job at Entertainment. And I was their senior fashion and trends editor, which was a brand new position they created. And essentially, E wanted to become, they didn't have a lot of fashion and beauty coverage other than Fashion Police. And Fashion Police was a little bit snarky and negative, and they wanted something that was warm and welcoming and women-centric, which is where I come in. So I created a section for them called The Trend, and it was essentially a lot of the content ideas that I had at InStyle, and I took it to E Entertainment, and it was great and fabulous, and I worked there for 3 years. After that, I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm like, I've worked for like the biggest entertainment network in town. I've done every red carpet there is to do. And then I got a call not that long after, and they said the Kardashians are launching their own apps. And each sister is going to have her own editor. And they needed somebody who, had the amount of experience they needed, the personality that could work with a high caliber celebrity, which I'd already worked directly with Tyra, and somebody that could be on a launch team, which in my whole career, I mean, if you look at it, it's launch.
New ideas,
new
ideas.
I'm a launcher, I'm a pitcher, I'm a go-getter, and I will hustle you down until there's no more hours in the daytime. So it was right up my alley, and I thought, if I'm going to work for a celebrity, like, let it be the biggest, most influential celebrity in town. And that was Kim. So I was all in, and I loved it. And I actually have always been a fan of the Kardashians. I have a lot of sisters myself, and we had long been calling ourselves the Chandashians. And we would all take on a persona, and I was the Kim of the family. So it kind of was like this, like, oh, this is kismet. This is meant to be.
So was it more like a marketing things you were doing with them, or
no? It was content.
Content.
Yeah, I was senior editor. to Kim and Kourtney. So each sister at the time had her own mobile app, which you would have to download and subscribe to and pay for as a consumer. But when you have access to them, this is where they would release their, very juicy stories about or photos or videos they only made for their subscribers. Back in the day, a celebrity would have a baby and get paid tons of money by People Magazine to release that first photo or that name. Now they had their own apps they owned and they get the money. So they would release. I mean, I was there when Kim gave birth to Saint West, her second baby. And I'm actually the one who published his name and his weight and his birth date. And it was like a very, very interesting feather in my cap to say that I was that person. But so at the time, and again, I was like, oh, mobile apps? Like, I'm all about like
apps.
Yeah, being on the next frontier of technology and again, diversifying my skill set. So I wanted to learn mobile and I wanted to learn how that programming worked and that product worked. So this was it was like probably 4 years ago, maybe from now, but I was on the app launch team and it was very exciting and I got to work directly with the sisters, and that also meant being their digital persona. So I wrote as Kim. I can't tell you how many episodes I've watched of Keeping Up with the Kardashians so that I could nail her voice and nail her tone and know exactly, you have to know their lives, like their life becomes your life, because
that's true.
When you work for a celebrity, it's not about you. Nobody cared that I went to Columbia and Pepperdine and had spent all these years and paid my dues. It was suddenly like my livelihood was for them.
Right,
so
that's true.
In that way, as an editor, as a media personality, I did have to kind of take a back seat. A lot of my publicist friends didn't know who I worked for because I couldn't really put it out there.
That's true.
But some of them did. I mean, eventually you kind of figured out that I had no byline for like a year or two when I worked for them because it wasn't me, it was them. But it was also like, when am I ever going to be able to get to do this? And it was very, very
true.
cool.
No, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Again, it's very new. And apps back then, it is very, very new. So now in the old days versus the currently, do you think celebrity has all the power to like move fashion, or do you think it's different now?
I think it's different now. I mean, at that time, I'll speak to Kylie Cosmetics because Kylie changed the game in a different way, where she was a celebrity and she created her own brand, but people were salivating and dying to get their hands on her products because she put it on social media. They didn't do traditional marketing. They didn't do advertising on TV or anything. Kylie was the powerhouse, and her platform was social media. So in a way, I would say the Kardashians changed the retail model in a very powerful way that a lot of brands learned, like, let's do it different. Let's build it up on social media and people will come. And I think today's retail model has become that. I mean, you look at a lot of the brands, they have built who they are online, and they don't have a brick and mortar, or if they do, it's because you know about them on social media, and we kind of flipped it where it was like, back in the day, you would walk into Gap and you knew Gap, you knew the t-shirts, you knew what jeans you wore, and then if for some reason you found yourself where you needed more, you could go online and know exactly what you wanted. Now we're doing it different, where we're looking at some influencer or some celebrity wearing a dress, and we can't tear our eyes away from her Instagram, and now we want that online, and if by some fabulous reason they have a brick and mortar store pop up in your town, it's like you get this whole different experience about the brand, but we flipped it on its head.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's so different.
It's so different.
Because now it's like especially everyone now looks at the Instagram first for inspiration. Before they shop or even go to a store. And
it's just like, you're like, oh, you have a store? Like, maybe I'll go. But it wasn't 10 years ago. It was like, I'm going to stroll through the mall and see what catches my eye and walk in. And then maybe I'll go to their website if I really am a fan. But now it's totally different. But
that's true. I mean, you yourself is a social media influencer. So how do you shop? And
oh gosh, how do I shop? I think it's the same way. I consume everything on Instagram too. And a lot of the dresses or things that I discovered that I know I need to have in my closet is because I found it on social media first. And I'm very, after being in the industry for so long and also being, to be transparent, gifted a lot of things. Sometimes I would wear things and I'm like, this isn't really what I would want to wear, but someone gave it to me, so I have to wear it and I have to photograph it.
Right.
But I think you have to be true to who yourself, what your personal style is, and that's really, really vital to my brand.
Right.
So again, utilizing sources like Rent the Runway, where I can pick and choose what I want to wear, but I don't have to commit, has really shaped my overall personal style.
Okay.
And just being smart about it.
Now, with all that different outlets, what do you think is your most effective outlet online or social media or any particular platform?
I would say Instagram is still my favorite. Just in terms of putting content out there, it's where I feel the most comfortable, where I feel like everyone talks to me, everyone knows me.
Right.
It's very familiar. I've been on the platform since the beginning of it. I would say I still am very, very active on Facebook, but it's different. It's more about connecting with family and friends, sharing vacation photos, or talking about current events. But really during quarantine, TikTok has really captured, and not so much as a creator, but just consuming. I mean, I now know how to make my favorite iced coffee at home because of TikTok. And you learn all these great things. And I also think for retailers, TikTok is really important because the videos are so short and consumable, it makes the product stand out more. So versus an Instagram or a YouTube video that someone says, this is how I get ready, and they name 50 products. On TikTok, you have 15 seconds. And if you're like, this is how I do my brows, boom, and that's one product, you're like, I need that one product, I'm in.
I totally agree.
Yeah, so TikTok, I think, is the way social media should be. You don't stress about it. It doesn't have to be so perfect, and it gets to show your personality more, but it's a harder sell the older you get, and I'm basically a senior citizen on the platform now.
Have you tried making some TikTok videos?
I have. I'm definitely, I gave up for a little bit, but I did try my hand during the beginning of lockdown, where I did some videos and I did some dances and some lip syncing, but it was really much more fun for me to consume it than create it. But,
we really should think up some ideas to do fashion on TikTok, because I think it's hard. It's hard.
People are so creative, but it's 15 seconds reward of that video, but it might take you 4 hours to produce and get it. The editing is super easy, but it's like all the changing your clothes. And for me, you're in your home. I mean, your home is your studio now because we can't go anywhere, or at least we couldn't for a couple of months. So I actually had a balcony in my apartment, and I sold all the furniture on it so that I would have more room to TikTok. I'm not kidding. I was like, this outdoor sunset and this is very valuable real estate for my TikTok background. So let's prioritize that.
Okay, so now I know diversity, inspiring other women is very important to you. So what are your plans to influence the next generation of women?
It's a lot of what I'm doing. I mean, coming onto podcasts like yours, doing TV appearances. One of my favorite things I've done in my entire career is hosting fashion shows for Bloomingdale's and Macy's and other retailers. And that's where I really get to connect with real women and show them this is the trend, but here's how to make it work for your lifestyle or your age or your body shape. So I'm all about making women feel confident and comfortable, whether they're a size 22 or a size 2 or whatever color, the rainbow that their skin tone might be, just helping them pick choices where their fashion and beauty isn't intimidating or overwhelming, which it can be, and it always has been. But I feel like my mission in life is to make things more acceptable and approachable. And I think that's why I've had success with working with major retailers and breaking down the trends and connecting with people in real life.
So what's on your roadmap next?
So many things. I can't really share a lot, but I would say that this time has really given me a lot of a bit of a time to reflect and slow down. A lot of different opportunities to come my way. I've consulted for a lot of brands at this point who need help with, storytelling or brand shaping, identifying their consumer and knowing what's out there and what isn't and what would really speak to them. So I consulted for Ipsy for the last year, which is the #1 subscription box in beauty, and helped them, just kind of fine tune their copy and brand voice. So I actually love doing that. It's second nature for me. But yeah, there are definitely some projects of my own too. I feel like, everyone is their own boss, and I'm ready for it. So I've always wanted to have my own line as well. So
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Hey, we should work on that together.
We should.
Products is my thing.
Yes, I'd love to pick your brain.
Yep. All right. So thank you so much for coming on to our show. Amazing stories. I love how you share your own personal stories, because that's really how women connect with each other, is really have to, like inspire using true life stories, and also letting them know that, hey, it's not as easy, and it's a lot of hard work, and you have to put, a lot of passion into everything. So now for all of you out there who haven't followed Jennifer Chan, she's on Instagram at Jennifer Chan Glam, or you can go to her website, jenchanglam.com. So thank you so much for coming to my podcast today.
Thank you.
So check out today's video on our website, girlinfluencepower.com, or subscribe to Kollectin's YouTube channel. And there you have it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.